Today we're going to be taking a look at modular penis pumps and troubleshooting the most basic forms of issues that people are coming across with these types of pumps. By definition, a modular penis pump system is a penis pump system that does disconnect. They typically have a female quick disconnect fitting on top of the cylinders. You can see here as well as here. They also include a hand pump, sometimes sold separately, but the modular system has a male quick disconnect at the tip of the hand pump. As you can see here by this manual pump, it has this right here, and then this electric hand pump also has a male fitting. So one of the most common problems that we see with modular penis pumps is customers are complaining that they don't hold air. So what you have to do is you want to isolate the initial area that you want to isolate and be able to determine what part of the modular pump is not correctly working and holding air. One of the great things about modular systems is that you can replace parts. So if you have an old cylinder that potentially has a crack, you can just throw this cylinder away, buy another cylinder, and it connects right away. You don't have to invest more money in a hand pump. Vice versa, if you have a hand pump that's broken but your cylinder is good, you could simply upgrade or replace your hand pump. As long as it has the quick disconnect fitting, it will fit. Most modular systems made by Link or LA Pump or Size Matters or Dr. Joel Kaplan, they all utilize the same universal style fittings, universal size, and therefore they should be able to interchange. So if you have a Size Matter cylinder and you want a Link hand pump, there's no problem purchasing that, or you have an LA Pump and you want to interchange with a different system, you can certainly do so. So the first thing you're going to want to do to figure out where your problem is when you have your system connected, like so, you're going to want to figure out, okay, you're pumping and you're like, okay, it's not holding air. Let's figure out exactly why we're not holding air. We have this flesh pad right here. You could do this on your thigh or a large piece of skin like your stomach, somewhere where you can actually grab onto with vacuum. So with this pad, what we would do is we're going to sit here and try to pump it. Now this does not have a problem holding air. As you can see here, it's fine. But let's just say that it was not holding air. So we can determine, okay, there's a problem between the pump and the cylinder. We haven't figured out which one it is. Step one would be to disconnect your pump and take your hand pump. Let's work on the hand pump first and see if it's the hand pump. The way you would determine if this is working correctly or not is you would just simply take the tip, put your finger over the male portion, and squeeze. So if you're able to do this and you're getting a vacuum reading and your finger makes that pumping sound and you're able to capture a vacuum on your finger, we can determine that just based on this, the vacuum is working fine within the cylinder, so it's not part of this problem. So therefore that only leads us to the cylinder, the only other part of the system. Now, isolating the problem in the cylinder could be a little bit more difficult, but generally speaking, the first thing you want to do is take a look at the adapter, the female quick disconnect fitting. Look for any kind of visible damage, any cracks or anything like that. If you do not see any cracks, the thing that we see most often is these become a little loose in the threads. Now these fittings can be replaced. So all you would have to do is twist them very lightly counterclockwise and they come right out. So once you do that, you can see here the cylinder has this clear hole now. It is threaded, and then this is the female disconnect. So all you would want to do is thread it and tighten it. You don't need to pull it off. I pulled it off specifically to show you. Well, while I have it off, there is an O-ring. It is white in this case, so it's hard to see, but right at the base of the threads, there is an O-ring there. That is what helps create the complete airtight setting, or the airtightness inside the cylinder. So you want to make sure that the O-ring is not damaged, it's not torn or cracked or anything like that. In this case, it's not. So you would just simply thread it in, just like so, and you want to keep turning it lightly, not too hard, until it's just thumb tight. You don't want to crank it down. If you crank it down, you could rip the threads, you could crack the fitting, you could break the fitting. There's a lot of things, so you don't need it that tight. It's not. That's why that fitting sits underneath the head. That fitting will help create the airtight vacuum in here without needing to crank it down too much. So do not tighten it too much. So oftentimes, as mentioned, this threading might just be loose. More times than not, this is the reason why it's not holding pressure. These are one piece, the cylinders, so there's not, unless you actually have a crack from dropping it, or maybe it met where the head is, then that would be the only issue where this is not replaceable. But for this case, most of the time, all we see is that the fitting just needs to be tightened down a little bit. So crank it until it's just thumb tight, and then there you go. And then